I also, before I get into my remarks, I just wanted to have us all thank the organizers of today's conference, specifically Natasha, Emil, Amy, and Tanya. A lot of hard work has gone in over the past 6 months plus. As well, I'd like to thank the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative for providing some of the funding that they provided to the foundation over the past 2 years has specifically gone to funding this conference. So that was instrumental. I'd also like to thank all the presenters for traveling in and putting together these presentations. I think, we're really seeing this center of gravity of some very dedicated researchers who are interested in KAT6A, KAT6B, and these other chromatin modifying disorders, so that now you're seeing increased collaboration going on, not just in sharing of samples, sharing of findings before they're published, and willingness to actually go and pursue future funding together collaboratively. So that's great. And then also thank you again to all the families who made the effort to travel here, particularly with your children. Great to see everybody. So now let me just briefly represent a few highlights of what we as the board of the KAT6A Foundation have been up to recently over the past 2 years, just to highlight some of our accomplishments. And then I'll pass it over to Amy Young. Amy Wrightson was unfortunately last minute unable to travel here. Amy Young will present the remarks that they've put together for the Empowered program that the foundation sponsored. And then Karen Ginsberg will present. She leads the fundraising work for the foundation, so she'll give a presentation on our fundraising initiatives. But first, let me just highlight a couple key things that the foundation has been up to outside of the conference itself. So one, the board, we recently voted to approve changing the name of the foundation. So in the future, we're going to be the KAT6 Foundation as opposed to the KAT6A Foundation. So that's in recognition of the ongoing and increasing collaboration with the KAT6B community. And so we're starting to use just KAT6 in the messaging. You've seen some of it in the presentations already, but it'll take us a few months to propagate that change through all of our media, our website, and all of that, and to legally change the name of the 501c3 nonprofit. So that is in the works. But again, we'll be going by the KAT6 Foundation going forward. Let me just break down some of the highlights of milestones we've achieved back through 2021 and 2022. So first, as I mentioned, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, right? So we wrote a grant proposal 2 years ago now, and we've received first $500,000 and now an extension of an additional $150,000. And that funding has really gone to support not research itself, but the coordination of research, right? So this conference counts as coordination of research efforts, right? And we've had a lot of other initiatives. Tanya, who from Australia, she's hired as the research coordinator for the community. So she's helping connect the research community, not just to share preliminary results and understand what everybody's doing, but also, again, to help align collaboration for pursuit of future external funding opportunities to keep driving the research forward. So the CZI, or the Chan Zuckerberg support, has been critical, and we have that for another 6 months. We hosted a virtual research symposium online back in March of this year. We had three presenters there and over 75 participants and attendees. We've also, you'll hear more from Amy about the Empowered program we have, but this is where the foundation, we take raised funds and we provide it directly to families who need equipment or assistive devices or even therapy for their children. So it could be buying an iPad, it could be some other electronic assistive device, it could be a physical device to help with mobility. So over the past year and a half, we funded over 22 individual grants directly to families for those assistive equipment or technology. As I mentioned, we've added the KAT6B community to our patient registry. You heard Malika review all that. So that's great. That'll help in future trials, as we've mentioned. We've provided the funding. You heard Manuel's presentation on the research that's going on in Spain. So that was with some direct funding from the foundation through fundraising that we've done. So we are directly supporting that research going forward. We've just approved from the foundation to do a joint funding of a research study in Canada to look at creating it's a fly model. Is it fly? Fly. A fly model for the disease as well. So we've talked about generating animal models as analogs for what goes on in humans. So this fly model will be another line of effort, and that's a joint funding. So the foundation picks up 50% of the cost, and the Canadian Research Foundation picks up the other half. So that's a nice partnership that's just getting off the ground now. Additionally, I want to highlight, you'll hear more from Karen about our Catwalk annual. That's kind of the Catwalk is our annual signature fundraising initiative that we're going to be doing every year going forward. And last year, we raised over $150,000 for that event last year. And again, so that, we set a $100,000 goal. So we exceeded our goal by over, sorry, what? It was a 70, so we doubled our target, right? So, and again, that's not one walk in one location, that's many walks in many locations going on the same weekend or over the course of 2 weekends. So this is an event you're going to be hearing a lot about, and we're going to be asking you to not only participate in, but potentially lead and organize a walk in your local community. And you'll get more than enough information on how to plan and execute that. So in advance, let me just ask for your help and willingness to participate in that walk this year. And then the last thing I'll highlight that we're doing as a foundation, we have spent, as you've seen, the growth in the number of KAT6A and KAT6B patients over the years. Just as our communities expanded, we're maturing as a foundation, right? So we spent this last year trying to organize ourselves and the work we do. And we formed several different committees to drive the work going forward. So we have a fundraising committee, we have a family services committee, we have a research committee, and we're also considering the addition of a family advocacy committee, right, to help with issues like custody, helping with custody battles for children after they turn 18 and guardianship. School issues, right? If you're fighting for different services or classifications in school, it's a committee that could help with those sorts of things as well. So, as a foundation, we're maturing and evolving to try to make sure we can handle the full breadth of activities that we try to do and support. So with that, let me just segue into an ask for assistance, right? We're not talking money here. It's really like volunteerism and participation. So when you hear from Amy Young about the Empowered program, that takes a lot of work to execute, to put out the solicitations, to review the applications, to help make the awards. You're going to hear from Karen Ginsberg about the multiple different ongoing fundraising initiatives we have. Those all take a lot of planning and work to execute. These are not overly, necessarily complicated things to do, but they just take hours of time to plan and execute and help. So us, the board of the foundation, we're relatively small. And so we're finding, right, it's a small core group of individuals who keep picking up a lot of these tasks. And it's as you all know, right, it's really hard to do these things in addition to being a parent of a special needs child and having a job and all these other things. So I'll support, I know Karen will ask, Amy will mention it, right? Like we are looking for additional volunteers. You don't necessarily have to be a board member, right? Like it's just volunteers from within the community to help out. Maybe you want to work on fundraising for the Catwalk event in specific. Maybe you want to work on building out our communication databases to make sure we keep track of all the people, not just families, but interested stakeholders in the KAT6 community who we need to stay in communication with, right? So all the databases that need to be updated and maintained. Thank you in advance for any of you who are willing to volunteer and to get involved. You can contact me, Emil. You could just post your willingness on the KAT6A Facebook support group, right? Like we will reach out to you or Natasha. Just get in touch, and we will make sure you get connected to the right committee chair, whether your interest is in fundraising or direct family support or marketing or communication, you name it. We've got a role you can fill if you've got specific skills or interests. So thank you in advance for your willingness to participate and help us out. And we'll make sure to try to advertise any real specific asks we have for certain skills or interests. So with that,